Hey, what's happening, man?
What's going on? Good.
Thank you so much for doing this. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can. Thank you, man. We appreciate you having us on.
Right on, guys. Like I said, it's about your journey in the music industry and how you guys got to where you are today. Are you both from St. Louis originally?
He's saying sort of. I am, yeah. I'm from the suburbs of St. Louis, yeah. So
Okay.
I'm born and raised. Rich is roundabout.
What about you, Rich? Where are you from?
Yeah, I lived like halfway between St. Louis and a town called Carbondale. It's like a big college town, so I kind of could play both scenes. So I'm kind of a rural type of dude.
Oh, cool. Right on. So both same general area then.
Yeah,
Cool.
ultimately.
Well, Joel, how'd you get into music?
Man, I just kind of fell into it. With us, it was kind of the typical basement or garage band story.
Okay.
You know, just a bunch of people that were into the same stuff and start tinkering around with instruments. And I think our original drummer actually asked if he could store a drum set at my house. I'd known the guy for years and was like, I didn't even know you were a drummer. He's like, well, it's been at my mom's house for a while. I haven't played in a while or whatever. And I always tell him, I'm like, this is all your fault, man. It was, it was
You
that
brought
whole
the
thing
kid
is-
over? Yeah.
Yeah. Walking downstairs and seeing a drum set, like, hey man, I kind of want to beat on that thing for a while. So,
Sure.
yeah, that's kind of my story.
Right on. What about you, Rich? How'd you get into music?
Oh, dude, my cousin actually was like a guitar player when I was a kid, and he had like the long hair and like played in bands and shit. And he had this killer Stratocaster with the skull and crossbones like pick guard, and I just thought it was like the coolest thing. So I wanted to play it, and he taught me how to play the chords to like Iron Man. And then like he recorded a bunch of Iron Maiden albums on cassettes for me. That was back when
cool.
cassettes were like a thing, you know?
Yeah.
And here I am, still playing guitar all these years later.
So for guitar, was that the first instrument you learned to play too?
Yeah.
Right on. And were you guys both in bands prior to meeting each other and forming?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about your first bands.
Oh, dude, my first bands were like every other's first bands. They were pretty terrible. Like they would like basement high school party bands, you know, where like everybody thought you were cool because you were in a band, but you really sucked, you know. Like,
or you spend more time making like the logo and the fly in your merch. And
That was it, man. You're right.
What about you, Joel?
Yeah, this is it, man. Inimical Drive was it. When we decided that we were actually going to make a go of it, we were that crappy band in the basement that and enough people convinced us that it was a good idea, and we stuck with it. So in that unusual case that this is the one band I've been in this entire time. So and it's been some time now, so we've seen a lot of changes and gone through a lot, but yeah, this is it. Seen a lot of different changes with it, but that drum set started it all.
Okay, so that started this band.
That started this band, man.
Wow. Okay. Well, tell me about how'd you and Rich meet, and how did that whole thing happen?
Mutual friends from Southern Illinois. We were going out and playing out a lot in the the regional area, and made a lot of contacts out that way. And a good mutual friend of ours ended up putting us in touch with each other. I had mentioned that we might be looking for somebody to fill in, and I needed another level head to kind of balance some things out at that time. And so he made mention of it. But when Rich and I finally met, it was one of those things. It was like, how did we never cross paths? We've been at probably every show together for the last decade, standing on opposite sides of the venue maybe. But so we had been in and out of his hometown, and he had been all over St. Louis and around, and somehow we never made that connection. But once we finally did, then we've been extremely tight ever since then, and good friends inside and outside the band. So
was the band already formed when you guys met, or was that?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, I have like an old ticket stub that I went to see another friend's band at, and it was an Inimical Drive show, and they were like the opener, and I was like, I kind of had forgotten that I had been at that show. So
That's funny. Oh, so you had seen them perform before you even joined the band.
yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. And have you guys had a chance to tour and all that?
Not since Rich has been in the band, actually. So we were doing some regional stuff, and we went through a couple lineup changes, and then actually had just kind of started on working on our most recent EP when Rich joined. So, and we had several incredible shows in, I think, the first year, just some, like I said, some regional festivals and a couple hometown shows that were incredible. So Rich had to like jump right into it. I think his first show was a sold out show at
really?
one of the larger venues out this way. And I think we gave him maybe a week or so to figure out the set. So, but
how many songs did you have to learn, Rich, before,
what was it, like 7? I think it was like seven songs that basically I think I had really listened to 2 of them before that, like, okay, I didn't really listen to a bunch of that before because we didn't know each other. This sounds worse than what it is. So,
it's really accurate. Don't let it fool you.
I had to learn these songs, and like it was like crunch time. It's like, oh, by the way, it's like the biggest show we played in so long. So you just no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Right.
Oh man. Well, tell me about those earlier shows, Joel. Like, how did you guys kind of get off the ground?
Man, it was the old-fashioned way. You made a joke about spending more time on the flyers and the logo and stuff, and but that really was what it was for us. We really didn't know anything about it. We just knew that we had a couple guys that were like, yeah, can't we put some songs together? And then it was to the point where enough people, we'd play a couple small bars, and enough people showed up that it was like, dude, we're making money off of this, and we're packing these bars. And we didn't really give it that much thought. And then it just became that, like, hey, we should probably really take it serious when we're like putting flyers together. I really think our first flyers may have been hand drawn.
Oh, wow.
Which is probably really cool now, right?
Right.
But back then it was like, hey man, they have computers to do this stuff for you. So so that was it, man. It was ground up. None of us really had a clue what we were doing. I really do attribute, we've been a band for going on 19 years. And, if you count all those early years, but I really attribute it to the family and the people that were around us, those guys showing up, and a lot of those people still come out and still support us and still buy merch and message me directly about the new record and stuff. So I attribute everything we've done to just enough of those people giving us the confidence that we weren't just a bunch of jack-offs in the basement, that we were actually putting songs together that they genuinely dug, so that was it. And then it was like, hey, well, how do we go out of town and take this further? We can only play in St. Louis so much. And so then we bought an RV and bought a trailer and started touring, and didn't know anything about that either. It was every time we took it another step, it seemed like we were just mind blown. Like, these people are showing up out of town for us. Like, how does that happen? And that's like pre-MySpace days, back when we started doing that stuff. So it was, I think, Every Time I Die talks about that, how it's like, oh, all this technology is real cool, but back in the day, you just jumped in a fucking van and did it,
Right.
And that pretty much was it. We were entering that phase of the MySpace and the technology and the websites and stuff. But, it was showing up out of town, and a promoter had made a poster off of the flyer that we took time to put effort into, when we were playing our last show. So yeah, it was really just ground up, man. I'm humbled by it still today,
Mm-hmm. And was Signal the Sirens the first release you guys did?
It was our first national release. So okay. I say that we had a couple what I call demos now prior to that. We still play some of those songs, but we didn't really know what we were doing. We didn't have real producer hands on anything. We just kind of threw it together and put the songs out as they were. So Signal the Sirens was like the first actual release. We signed a record deal with that. We flew out to Los Angeles and lived in the studio and recorded the record.
wow.
And we're like, oh my God, it's amazing. We're doing it.
Tell me about that. You guys signed to a label and
Yeah, so it was a digital distribution deal, but it was an actual record label, Authentik Artists, and they had a little bit going on for probably a 5 or 6 year run, and then I think the steam just kind of fell out of the majority of that. But they were great to us, and we still work with some of the people that were associated with that. They've just been a part of the family since that. That was back in 2012, I think. So Bob Bradley, he was the A&R that originally reached out to me and made that happen. So he's still a part of the camp and part of this PR campaign. Reason why we're talking today, actually. So,
oh, really? So you're still in touch with them?
Yeah. So
okay,
we're doing
cool.
this. Yeah, we're doing this release independently. But Bob has just been incredibly awesome to us and bent over backwards to make sure we were getting exposure. So, yeah, so it was cool, man. We packed up and drove across the country and went out and stayed in the studio and wrote a record and did the whole thing, man. It was really cool. It was for a summer, and then came back here and released it nationally and did some regional stuff again after that. And so, yeah, it was good. It was a good time.
And then you have the most recent record you just put out was Enemy, or the EP you just put out was Enemy.
Couple weeks ago, man. And
and there was a big
response.
There's a big gap in between the two releases, right? And was there a reason behind that, or?
There is. So much like many bands, you make all this big effort and then it almost breaks you up.
Yeah, sure.
So it was, we struggled for a couple years after we hit it pretty hard with Signal the Sirens, did everything we could do within our power. And then it took us to a breaking point. So there was probably about a year and a half, 2 years where we didn't do anything. And then our other guitar player, Nick, other original member with myself, we started writing the songs for Enemy. And then we just fell into complication after complication. We were working with a producer. We planned on doing a pledge campaign. We were successful there. We hit our goal. So we're like, all right, we're going to do a music video and do a single. And so as we started working on that, our producer fell on health complications. And unfortunately, rest in peace, he passed away to cancer. Just not too long ago. But so we put it on hold. We intended on finishing the EP with him. And it was just a lot of back and forth. And then finding out that he wasn't going to be able to actually be in the studio anymore, we decided to take it elsewhere. So we finished the EP with Jack Daniels from the band War of Ages. And that experience was amazing. But yeah, so that just trying to get all of that wrapped up, the pledge campaign, release a single, build enough hype around what we had going on. And then Matt had the health complications. So we kind of waited for that. And the back and forth that just drug out over a couple years actually to get this EP together. So we are thrilled to finally to have it put together and have a piece of Matt on the EP with us. So
I was going to ask you kept those original stems and recordings.
Yeah, we kept 2 of the songs that we did with Matt, and then we took the other 3 songs that were written and went into the studio with Jack, and he was able to help us put it together and kind of put a new spin on things too. So it was it's like the best of both worlds,
And Rich, you joined right when they're recording, or you guys had just finished recording the record?
They had kind of done some of the early recordings for Enemy. We hadn't done the final 3 songs. So whenever I joined, they were kind of like I guess, what do you do? Like a little bit of a hiatus, I guess.
Yeah, it was basically, we weren't sure what we were going to do. It's like, well, we're not moving back to California and doing that again. we kind of saw where that road took us. So it was a bit of a hiatus.
So, Rich, you got to play on the record then? I guess that was my question.
Yeah. Actually, when we recorded at Sick Tones with Jack from War of Ages, I went down and I was able to hang, and it was pretty cool to be a part of the tail end of that process for sure. Because I feel like those are the best songs, man. The last 3.
There you go. No shame in that.
Was that your first experience, recording a record like that, or
Oh
in
no,
previous
man! I've
bands
been.
you've done that?
I was actually in a band called Audralin back in the early. I hate to say it because it dates me, but it was like the early 2000s. And that I know that's how I met the mutual friend that Joel and I know. Is I was in the band
Okay.
Pete. And then we also did another project called Rose for Apollo that never kind of saw the light of day that we recorded at, I think it was called the Omen Room. It's a Southern California studio too. So I've been kind of, off and on done some things like that.
Oh, cool. And what about touring? Did you have a chance to tour prior to joining this band?
We regional stuff. The
Okay.
Audralin band did a lot of regional things, never anything on a major national scale.
Got it. Right on. So you guys finally finished this EP with the gap and everything that had happened, and then the coronavirus hits. Were you thinking about like holding it, or what? How did that?
We did. It was so we actually wrapped up the recording between Thanksgiving and Christmas sometime, and so no joking about the whole 2020 and coronavirus thing, but I felt like it was our fault. I said every time I should have never posted that we were putting new music out. I put a press picture up and the whole thing. And as soon as we did, we're like, okay, cool. We're scheduling video shoots. I was pretty hard lined about how I wanted to put this out. If it's only going to be a 5-song EP and it took us this long to do this, our fans pledged to see this record come to life. And so I wanted to make sure that it was as it was intended to be. I wanted a bunch of singles. I wanted a bunch of content, music videos to go with almost every song. And if it wasn't going to be that, we'd guitar playthroughs and just as much content as we could give them off of those 5 songs. And so, we were literally talking to 2 different video directors to get the 2 songs scheduled, and then all of this happened and everybody goes into quarantine and all this. I'm like, you've got to be shitting me. So we did put it on hold for a couple of months, and then we released out of order. We did like inside the studio, like the making of the EP video that's on our YouTube channel. And that was supposed to come out after the release of the EP as additional content. But, in talking with people, it was like, man, nobody's putting any content out. And the content that's coming out is Zoom calls and cell phone videos and everything. And it was like, I don't want to do that. That's not what it was supposed to be. So we released that. Just to say, hey, we did actually do this. I didn't make it up, It's coming. I swear to God, coming soon. And so, and then JT Ibanez, who shot the video for the single Reckoning that we put out just a couple weeks ago, he reached out and he said, hey, I've got my own place. We can do this safely as long as it's just you guys. And so masks and checks and the whole thing, just to make sure that everybody was good coming into the studio. And so we were able to do that. And once I knew that, I said, okay, we can actually start talking about this. If we've got a video and a single, I'll reach out to Bob. And that kind of started the conversation. And he said, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Not a lot of bands are putting content out right now. Let's just go ahead and do it, because nobody knows what the rest of the year looks like, nevertheless, next year. So, what am I going to sit on this another 2 years?
Yeah, right.
I'd like to get this behind us and continue to write songs if at all possible. So
Right. Wow. So the video for Reckoning was shot during quarantine?
Yeah. After the, Missouri, Missouri has a mind of their own. Kind of pretended that it didn't exist for a while, but we all took it very serious. But yeah, it was kind of as regulations started to lift and things started to go back to whatever normal was at that time. He reached out and he said he felt safe that he could start having bands come back into the studio. So it was on the tail end of the actual full lockdown for us.
Yeah. And it's like your guys are in a room with just like the cool lights and stuff. It's not like you're out in the public,
Yeah, right. We don't have 1,000 extras on site,
It's a rad video though. I love all like the lens flares and the different how it's shot.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the director, Juan Ibanez, JT Ibanez, he's just been doing a bunch of stuff and all of it is quality. And I've been watching him for a while. And the cool thing about that, everybody says that, like, man, the lens flares and the way that looks, when he was playing it back for us in studio, that's pretty much how he captured it. He just knows what he's doing to capture it. There's very, very little extra that went into it. When Rich and I were like sitting back watching, like, you got to be kidding me if it looks this good, you know, before the post, you know. It's like,
right.
You know. So yeah, he did a great job. He's an awesome guy, and he will continue to do really killer stuff. So he's one to watch for sure.
Yeah, it's an amazing video. I think it, like you said, the lens flares, just everything about how it aesthetically it looks. It's rad.
Yeah, and I'm always like paranoid about just a performance video. You know, it's like, I don't think I'm that cool. I don't want to watch me for just 4 minutes, you know, of just me, you know. So it's got to be really cool. So the fact that he took one location and one small room and was, you know, able to make that kind of an impact, I thought was huge. So
yeah, definitely. Were you going? I know you're talking about putting out more videos for the other songs on the EP. Is that still the plan?
Yeah, we are. We're working with another guy locally here that just, man, some of these guys' content has just blown me away. But a guy by the name of Jordan Phoenix, if you look him up, he is working with us on the next single, and that will be for Enemy. Okay. And this one is going to be a little bit, it's not going to be in one room. We have high hopes for this. There's big, there's a lot of big talk going into this, and I go, well, that's why you're the guy, because if you see it, we will show up and you make it happen. So
right.
But the good thing is seeing what he's done, I'm very confident that it's going to come out awesome. So
very cool.
But yeah, a little bigger production, and we kind of wanted to do that with this one, given that it's more of, I don't want to say ballad, but you know, it's the lesser aggressive song on the record. So you know, if you're gonna go for a big video, it's got to be big. So
right on. What about for promoting the record? Have you done any of the like live streams on your Instagram, Facebook, that type of thing?
So we didn't do the live stream. I've got a couple conversations going about what that might look like. Partial charity, partial multi-band. Maybe we have access to a venue that isn't able to be open right now. So there's talk. I'm not sure that a live stream thing will actually come together. Because if it's a Zoom call or something like some of the ones we've seen, me sitting here screaming in this microphone is not going to come across quite as well as some of the other ones that you've seen, you know. So, but you know, yeah, we are having some conversations because, you know, like I said, we don't know how long this goes, and we're dying to continue to do stuff. You know, I was so grateful when JT reached out and said that we could get started on it, because, you know, you wrap up a project and then you're sitting looking at it and you're going, cool, like, we can't even be a band right now, you know. So so we're looking for other things, but I do have a bunch of content. We've got probably 3 or 4 other exclusive content things that'll come out after the video for Enemy. So can't really ask for much more to come out of a 5-song EP. So
very cool. Well, thank you guys so much for talking with me this evening. I really appreciate it.
Oh man, I appreciate it. You've had some killer guests on here recently. I've been following since the initial contact. So
cool. Thank you.
Yeah, keep it up, man. You're doing a great job.
I appreciate it. I have one more question for you guys. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Rich?
Oh, just get out there and fucking do it. Like, really, I know that sounds so like cliche, I guess, but like, I think like a lot of that old school stuff, like Joel was saying, like hand-drawn flyers and just getting out there and handing them out and giving your demos out to people. Just putting your demo out on Facebook or Instagram, that's what everybody's doing. You know, that old school stuff is coming back. I think you just got to get out there and try to figure out a better way to get your stuff in front of people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'd say talk to your people, you know, talk to your fans. Everybody's got a way to reach out and directly connect with everybody individually. Nobody's going to do that for you anymore. You know, it used to be this team of people to do that stuff for you, and it was kind of very disconnected. But since everybody is so connected, reach out and talk to your people. You know, we put a couple posts out about what kind of merch do you guys want to see, and what do you want to see from this release, and if we do this, will you do this? And you know, you've got that option to really actually connect with people, and that really the response for this EP, because we've been complete hands-on with it, has just been overwhelming. So if nothing else, you get the gratitude of just knowing exactly what people are into your music for, you know? So.
Bringing it backward.